Addiction rarely develops in isolation. Behind most addictions is an environmental enabler. That is a person, a situation, or a relationship that reinforces the addictive behavior, knowingly or unknowingly. You know, this enabler becomes like a curse because they make the addiction easier to repeat and harder to escape. Now, for true recovery to happen, the enabler must be removed. They must be confronted or transformed. But this is difficult because both the addicted person and the enabler are often emotionally tied to the dynamic. You know, and stay with me here. An enabler is not always malicious. They may be a partner, they may be a friend, a sibling, a co-worker, or even a parent. And their role is simple. They make the addiction comfortable. That is, they cover up consequences, they provide resources, they normalize harmful behavior, or even offer emotional refuge without boundaries. You know, the addicted person relies on them for access, for validation, or escape. The enabler relies on the addicted person for identity, for control, or emotional purpose. You know, now this creates a toxic bond where both feel needed, even though the relationship is destructive. Breaking addiction requires breaking this bond. If the enabler remains, the addiction stays alive. The cycle is maintained because the environment continues to reward it. Without environmental change, behavioral change collapses. You know, psychologically, addiction is reinforced through repetition and emotional dependency. The enabler sustains this dependency by reducing consequences. That is, I'll cover for you. Increasing access, I'll get it for you. Offering emotional escape, I understand, keep doing it. Or participating in the addiction themselves. You know, the addicted person becomes trapped in learned helplessness, believing they cannot stop because the environment is structured around their habit. You know, the enabler, on the other hand, often gains a sense of importance, control, or emotional connection, and that is from being needed. You know, removing them threatens their identity as much as it threatens the addicted person's comfort. This is why separation is so difficult. Both have to lose something they depend on. You know, spiritually, an enabler represents a karmic attachment, a soul tie built on imbalance. You know, the relationship drains energy, it blocks growth, and it keeps both people stuck in lower states of consciousness. Addiction is a spiritual disconnect, while enabling is a spiritual distortion. Breaking free requires energetic separation, boundaries, and reclaiming personal power. You know, sometimes the enabler must live your life. Other times you must outgrow the dynamic. Either way, liberation comes when the soul chooses alignment of attachment. In short, most addictions survive because an enabler keeps them alive. The bond is mutual, it is emotional, and it is deeply rooted. You know, true recovery begins when the enabling force is removed, when it is confronted or transformed. Without eliminating the enabler, the addiction remains a cycle, with both people trapped inside it. My people, heal. Heal.